video, I'm going to talk to you about key signatures and what they are. We'll define them, we'll look at them, and we're also going to look at relative major and minor keys and parallel major and minor keys. This is in essence a kind of third video on scales and a summary of that in some respects, and also kind of taking one aspect of writing scales to its next logical conclusion. So let's start right there with a scale. Up here I've written an E major scale. This should be familiar to you by now. We would know it was E major because it has 8 notes. It starts and ends on the same note. It uses all the lines and spaces between the two notes E, and it creates half steps between 3 and 4 and 7 and 8. Those are all the characteristics of a major scale. So we should know that that is an E major scale. Now, we know that it's E major because it has those characteristics and because the right notes have accidentals in front of them. But as you can imagine, if you were writing a piece in E major, it would become laborious, especially in the days before electronic music printing and so on, to have to handwrite the sharps in front of every F, G, C, and D that you wrote in your entire piece. You can imagine a symphony of many, many pages and many, many instruments, and you have to write that. That's going to get very tedious very quickly. So composers quickly worked out that it made much more sense to simply say, if I'm in a key, if I'm in E major, and for this period of time that I am in that key, all the Fs are going to be sharp, all the Gs are going to be sharp, all the Cs are going to be sharp, and all the Ds are going to be sharp, because they have to be to make the key work. If that's going to be the case, well then why don't we just gather those together and put them at the beginning of the piece? And when we do that, we will simply be telling the player that for the duration of this piece, until this changes, you will just play every F, every C, every G, and every D. You will play them as sharps. You will make them 1/2 step higher than when they're in their natural condition. And so then you can write the scale with the key signature like this, and this is still G sharp, this is still F sharp, because the key signature tells you that it is. So that is what a key signature is. It is a collecting together of the sharps or flats that you would need in order to be able to play a scale that would be right for that particular key. In this case, this is a key signature for E major, because if you put down 8 notes on every line and space using E to E as your starting and ending point, if you do that, and you play F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, and D sharp on the way through, you will have played an E major scale. You will have created an E major scale. So that is what a key signature is, how it works. What you need to learn is the names and the number of sharps or flats involved in every key. So here we have this is the total number of sharps that you can have. This is a total number of flats you can have. They're presented in treble clef and in bass clef, because where they are put on the lines and spaces is important. You can't just put this F anywhere you like. It goes traditionally on the top line. And the same is true in the bass clef, the same with the flats. You need to learn this so you know the complete order, and then you need to learn which key signatures are associated with which keys. For example, this key signature, 1 sharp, is G major. And you need to know that. You need to know that 1 sharp is G major. You need to know that 2 sharps are D major. Now, I'm not going to go through the entire list of key signatures in this video. I'm simply pointing out how they work and what the principle is. What you need to do now is to go and find that information. There are plenty of sites on the internet that will have diagrams of these keys, telling you the keys that you need to be, that are associated with a certain number of sharps or flats, and you just need to go and learn those. We can certainly go over that in class in more detail, but that's something you just need to know, because it's not terribly complicated. The complicated part is knowing what that means. The fact that that tells you that if I write G to G using all the notes, all the lines and spaces between G and G, I have 8 notes, all the lines and spaces, G is my starting note, G is my finishing note, and I put an F sharp in. I make sure that F is sharp, that I will have played G major. You need to know that. Then you just need to learn that 1 sharp is G major, the 2 sharps is D major, the 4 sharps is E major. You need to just learn that, and the same with the flats. So that's the first part of this video. Make sure that you know how the key signatures work, but then equally what keys are associated with particular key signatures. 1 sharp is G major, and so forth. That will then enable you to logically do the same thing with the minors. However, as you might imagine, if indeed we had a minor scale, let us say, for example, that we had this particular scale that happens to be E natural minor. No problems with that. It's exactly what we would expect for E natural minor. It has all the criteria for a scale, for one thing, and specifically for a natural minor scale. The half steps are in the right place. In the same way as the major scale, I could take that particular accidental and I could locate it at the beginning of the piece. And now I've written an E natural minor scale. I've written a scale in E minor. And I have created a scale where the key signature is determining the order of whole and half steps such that I have a minor scale. Now, there's 2 things you could observe about this. One, you can say, well, hang on a minute, aren't there other forms of the minor scale? Well, yes, there are. And if indeed you were writing the harmonic version of the minor scale, you would have to write in the sharp that is necessary in front of the 7th scale. You have to write it in because it doesn't appear in the key signature. The key signature gives you the natural minor scale. What you need to do is write in the additional sharps or flats or naturals or whatever it might be, naturals or sharps, that are necessary to create the particular melodic or harmonic version of the minor scale. So you need to do that. The other thing that you might observe about this is, well, hang on a minute, I thought you told me just now that 1 sharp was G major, right? You wrote it up, you said 1 sharp is G major. Don't forget, you must learn that. You were very strict about it, I remember. Well, I understand you're thinking about that, you're remembering that. Now I'm going to tell you, yes, 1 sharp is G major. It is also E minor. And that leads us into the second part of this video. That key signatures are shared. That G major and E minor share the same key signature. Now, obviously, if you're writing G major, you're starting on a different note. You've got G to G, 8 notes, use all the lines and spaces, and the F sharp takes care of the order of whole and half steps to create a major scale. Or, if you're using E minor, you start on E. You go E to E, 8 notes, all the lines and spaces, and the F sharp takes care of the order of whole and half steps for E natural minor. So the key signature depends on where you're starting. This is 1 sharp is G major if you're starting on G, 1 sharp is E minor if you're starting on E. So, it's all well and good, I tell you right. So key signatures can be shared. Does that mean you have to learn 2 complete sets? You have to learn that 1 sharp is G major and E minor? Well, yes, you do, but there's an easier way to learn it than just having to learn a complete set twice. And that is to learn the relationship between these 2 keys. If you look at the first note of the scale of G major, it is obviously a G. If we look at the first note of the scale of E minor, it is an E. What we can do is learn this interval distance. If we learn what the interval distance is between the first note of G major and E minor, we can learn what is the interval distance between any 2 keys that share a key signature. So the interval distance, I'll spare you having to work it out, the interval distance is a minor third. This is a minor third. If we worked it out using all the charts that we have back from when we were doing intervals, we would figure out it's a minor third. We can conclude, therefore, that if there are 2 keys that share 1 key signature, as indeed there are, one is major and one is minor, that the relationship between them, the distance between them, is a minor third. So now I can say to you, okay, here's C major. write that out. I put C minor up there and you can do that. Here is C major. What is the other key that shares that key signature? Well, it's got to be the key that is a minor third below it, because the minor key is a minor third below the major. What is a minor third below C? A minor third below C is A minor. What if we start from the minor? Well, then we have to go the other way. We have to go up, because the minor key signature is the one on the bottom, the major one is the one on the top. So we say to ourselves, all right, let's say we're in the key of G minor, right? G minor. What other key shares that key signature? Well, if we go up a minor third, from G minor up a minor third would take you to B flat. B flat major and G minor share a key signature. So this relationship of a minor third exists between what are called relative keys. The relative minor of C major is A minor. The relative major of A minor is C major. Did I say that right? C major to A minor to C major. The relative minor of B flat major is G minor. The relative major of G minor is B flat major. You can learn that relationship. They are a minor third apart. That is relative key signatures. And you need to know those as well. So what you need to learn is all your major key signatures, and then you need to learn that any key that is a minor third away, a minor third below your major key signatures, will be the minor key that shares the same key signature, that uses the same key signature. Now you can find charts on the internet that have all this laid out for you. I would recommend that you go look for them, bring them to class, we'll look them over together, and we will kind of unpack this a little bit so that you can begin to learn these keys and their relationship. After a while they become second nature, but you do need to spend some time just getting to grips with the concept. And mainly from this video, get the concept. Right? The learning is the easy part if you understand the concept. That the two keys that are relative to each other share the same key signature and are a minor third apart. Now there is one other. I don't want to confuse anyone. Some of you may want to stop the video here and not listen to this last part until you've had a chance to really digest what has been said up to this point. But as a final postscript, something else you should be aware of is something that are called parallel major and minor. Parallel major and minor share the same first starting note. So, G major and G minor are parallel major and minor because they share the same starting note. They both start with G. They have different key signatures, but they share the same starting note, G. So they are parallel major and minor. Whereas relative major and minor share the same key signature, but have different starting notes. That may seem initially confusing, but in fact, parallel is really quite simple. They're just the same starting note. G major, G minor, C major, C minor, D major, D minor. Those are parallel. The slightly more confusing one are the relative, where you have to know that there is a minor third interval distance between the starting notes, even though they have the same key signature. I hope that hasn't confused you too much. As always, rewind the video, look at it 2 or 3 times if you need to, bring any questions to class. We'll help hopefully clarify a few things and get you squared away on both key signatures and on the concept of relative and parallel keys. Thanks very much.